guys, this is our Infinity War review. We just saw it. It's not Affinity, it's Infinity War. We were so ready for this. We went dark as one should because every little single thing on Instagram, Twitter. The ending was actually kind of ruined for me. Not as much as I thought it was, but it was. I was just browsing the twatters as one would, and the highlighted comment on that fucking social media platform showed something to do at the end of this, which I won't get into right now because that will save for the spoiler sections. As of course, we're going to start off doing this review as a spoiler-free. When we do throw the spoilers on it, we will put a little asterisk or some message at the bottom to say, "Hey, dog, spoilers, bro." So, as a whole, this movie definitely delivers, in my opinion. Pretty much any interaction that you wanted to see was given to you in this. There was a lot of things that it was just the culmination of all the movies together and made, and then now we see every single character come together, and we see someone's long forgotten that also show up. This movie was fantastic.
Yeah, we were watching all of them till this point because I haven't seen all the Marvel movies. So we didn't go in order, but we did watch them so that way when we got to this point, I knew what was going on.
Yeah, we got her caught up. I got her caught up.
Yeah.
I made her watch all the movies in order of importance and also just in order in general. Not all of them, just the important ones. She missed, like Thor, but she saw the Dark World, so anything that had to do with the Infinity Stones to understand it, and the entire idea of the movies. By the way, that's Bruce. Okay, and yeah, no. So as a whole, what did you think? Without spoiling.
I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot. If we were to rank it, like we're gonna do it, I would say it's number 2.
What would you say to number 1?
My Captain America still.
Captain America what?
The first ever Captain.
For real?
Yeah.
Alright. Well, that's good anyways, because there is one giant subtle nod. It's not even subtle, it's right there, it's in your face. A nod to a specific character from the original Captain America, which is fucking awesome. As soon as I saw that, I actually gasped. I was like, and I think that was my first gasping moment.
Was that when I asked you what happened? What it was?
When you asked me who the character was.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, I didn't know what's going on, so I'd ask him.
There was a specific character, and I was like, oh my goodness. So yeah, definitely something happens in there in that respect. But overall, every character's given their due. Like, Captain America's on screen for enough time, and when he does show up, my heart started pumping. I was like, oh, yes!
Your
yes.
heart.
Matter of fact,
my heart started pumping. I was like, shh, Bay is on screen. Everybody shut up.
As soon as they showed his silhouette,
I was the only one that wooed, and then everybody wooed after me, but I wooed first.
Oh, you were the first wooer.
I was the first wooer.
So she was wooed by Captain America. As soon as she saw his silhouette, she was just like,
I already knew. Woo! I was like, that's Bay. That's Bay. Everyone shut up.
But also, we see,
I think people should have got more time than what they did. I actually don't think everybody got enough screen time. I feel like there were so many main characters.
Well,
like, it was so hard for them to divvy up the time between everybody, but I felt like more characters could have deserved more on-screen time.
Well, I think, okay, so
like the Wakanda people.
Well, okay, they came. No. Wakanda comes around the lower end of the third act of the film. But here's the thing: is that we've already seen them. They're the most recent movie.
But still, like Wakanda, even though I forgot who else, but one of the other characters, I was like, well, they could have showed him a lot more too, but they didn't. And I'm just like,
Most of the characters they've already had their own movies. They've already had 1 or 2 movies.
Yeah.
And like I said, the Wakandan characters are actually already ingrained in our soul. They're fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
As far as just being on screen, and then we knew that they were going to go there because. Steve Rogers says his little line, like, I know a place.
Yeah.
And we all knew right then and there where he was going to go with that. If you didn't, then you never saw any other movies. But this one was... I don't know. Okay, so obviously Sasha says that she didn't. I feel that a lot of people did get enough screen time because there's so much to work with. So they had to throw it and kind of flesh it all together, which is why they're making a second part. Remember, these movies individually cost $500 million to make, so they have to, you know, probably make up $1 billion per movie, which they probably will do. But from what I heard, they were already in the 230 million mark in one day, and that's in 6 hours. I wasn't
I'm
even
really
in one day.
curious to see what they're gonna
End up with at the end of the weekend.
Yeah, because our theater was full, and we did like the early showing. So
yeah, our theater was definitely packed, and we did get reserved seating. I know a couple people that went that didn't have reserved seating.
Really?
Yeah, and they were like, we were waiting in line for a long ass time. Well, in that case,
yeah, please fix my hair because
it's not your hair. It's
makeup?
yeah, got it. Okay, we got it. We're good. So, but yeah, overall, I would rank this movie. It's better than all the other Avengers.
Yeah, that's for sure. That I could agree.
And I would put the Avengers movie before this one. I'd put the original Avengers at number 3. Now this one. Okay, so my original top 3. Right? Let's just do this. Let's get them out of the way. What number 1 was Captain America: Winter Soldier. Number 2, Civil War. No, number 2 was Ragnarok. And
that one was good. Not my top 3, but it was good.
Number 3 was Avengers. Now I'm gonna have to peg Avengers down a notch. I'm gonna have to put Civil War down a notch.
Really?
And I'm gonna put Captain America: Winter Soldier down a notch. Number 1 is gonna have to be
This Avengers.
the
It was really good.
Avengers: Infinity War. It's just
Really
it's the payoff. It's, you know what, Marvel has done such a good job of making every single movie a spectacle. Like
Yeah.
they made the movie going experience an experience. It's you show up just to show up. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like you know what to expect. You know that it's a new hero character. All these other directors are out there talking shit, saying when is this superhero fad gonna die? Obviously, not today, my friend. Not today. This shit is still going strong.
But yeah, it was good. It's a good movie.
Yeah. So it was a good movie. Do you want to get into spoiler talk?
Yeah, because I feel like you can't talk about this movie without getting into spoilers.
I mean, yeah, you can just talk. Yeah, that's
you
true.
can tell specifics, but then it's like right from the get-go, things are happening, and it's like, how do you not spoil stuff?
Okay, so
Like-
what we're gonna try to do, keep along, if not correct us in the comments in the order that we fuck up in, is we're gonna try to detail the movie in the in sequence, the way it went. So, without further ado, look at the bottom. It's gonna be spoilers, bro. We're gonna do this shit right now. So, right in the beginning of this movie, we are pretty much just minutes. We can only assume.
Yeah, not even like 5 minutes in.
Well,
Or maybe about 5 minutes.
I would say about minutes in after, if you saw Thor Ragnarok, you see a big ass ship appear right in the end credits scene, and everybody's like, "Whoa, what's this screen? This thing?" We all knew it was gonna be Thanos. So
I mean, he had to explain it to me.
Yeah.
I was like, why is everybody talking about it?
So we all knew it was gonna be Thanos' ship, and sure enough, I'm saying minutes after he just wrecks. Thanos wrecks the entire ship, kills pretty much all the crew. I don't think anybody survived.
No, I think he said half his crew was slaughtered or something.
Yeah, half his crew was slaughtered. Luckily, there was nobody nobody from Asgard, like, as far as like the people. Because remember, Asgard is the people, so most of the people were transported to Earth, otherwise known as Midgard.
Yeah.
If you've been playing any God of War, you would know. But
Boy.
either way, right. We take place right then and there. Loki's on the ship, having just pretty much detailed where all the Infinity Stones were going to be. Now, we didn't see Xandar get destroyed, but we knew right away when you saw the glove, the gauntlet, it already had the Power Stone in it. Remember, the Power Stone was last left in Xandar for the Xandar police people to keep order and keep it under control, under wraps by the Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy left it there for safekeeping. Turns out wasn't safe fucking enough, because Mr. Thanos goes in. He says it, like, after I destroyed Xandar,
Yeah.
I took the Power Stone. So anyways, as soon as you see the gauntlet, you already see that there's a Power Stone in there. The second one he's coming for is the Tesseract, otherwise known as the, what was the blue one called?
I forgot what that one.
Okay.
There's so many freaking stones.
There's only 6, but
that's a lot.
uh,
I have baby brain. I'm still trying to figure out what happened.
so he gets in the blue stone, as we should say, and that blue stone is pretty much given to him by Loki, and Loki shows up thinking he's gonna do some kind of power play, trick maneuver, and his fake iteration is killed off because, you know, Loki is the god of mischief, and then his real iteration comes in and pretty much looks at Thor like, we can go to Earth and you and me, Thanos, can take over.
He's gonna be like the tour guide for him at Earth, like he could tour him and stuff like that.
Exactly, like he's like, I know Earth like no other, and he's like, whoa, he's like, you failed in all your experience. He's like, yeah, but I have experience. So he looks at Thor, kind of gives him the wink, wink, wink. Remember, Thor is being held down at this point by a couple of I don't know, some fucking magic by one of his characters.
He's off to the side, so he sees Loki approaching him, but then hidden is the knife that Loki had.
Yeah, Loki has a hidden blade behind his back and attempts to stab Thanos, and of course completely whiffs. Thanos just stops him since he has 2 stones now. He has the blue and he has the power, the purple one. So he stops him and pretty much just lifts him up and just chokes him. Just chokes him dead.
And it's bye-bye Loki.
And that's Loki. And that was his real iteration. Also, I don't know the guy's name, but Idris Elba, the guardian of the Bifrost, the teleportation module that was on Asgard, the black guy. He was pretty much he. Also, by the way, there is a fight with Hulk and Thanos right in the beginning. I mean, this is like the first 5 minutes, guys.
Yeah,
I'm not even
so
joking.
the first 5 minutes, like Loki was already dead. There was already a fight. That other guy, the time guy, died. Like,
yeah, okay, so
like
there's a fight where you see Hulk and Thanos squaring off, and Thanos is just having a fun time. Hulk is like dishing out damage like we've never seen, but Thanos just shakes it off and is kind of just chuckling, and then pretty much just wrecks Hulk. He just hits him with a pressure point, and that's when you know right away how powerful Thanos is as just a combatant. Just hits him with a pressure point, like right in the shoulder, and Hulk just falls down hurting. And pretty much we don't really see much Hulk after that, not until the late third act. But by that time we already seen him. So anyways, Idris Elba pretty much in his last move, his last power play, sends the Hulk back to Earth using the Bifrost powers that he has left.
And then he dies.
And then, of course, he gets stabbed through the heart. And then that's that. So that's pretty much not credits roll, but Avengers rolling. Or no, they go back to Earth,
after
right?
that Thanos goes to his thing, but the ship explodes. Because later, we run into Thor again, but his ship explodes. So you don't know what happened. You know if Thor died or did Thor explode. They don't show anything else. It just shows the ship exploding.
Okay, yeah. So the ship explodes, and we are all left to assume that Thor is dead as well. So that's when we go back to Earth, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we go back to Earth, and the first thing we see is the Bifrost coming in, and something's in there. We all know it's Hulk. And
yeah, because Hulk falls through Doctor Strange's house.
Exactly. So we go through the Sanctum Sanctorum, and we're following Doctor Strange and Wong, his ward. When all of a sudden, boom! In comes Hulk landing, but it's not Hulk. It's pretty much Mark Ruffalo's character, Bruce Banner.
That's Bruce Banner.
And he's like, Thanos. That's like his only words he can muster.
He said Thanos is coming.
Thanos is coming, and that's when what does Doctor Strange say? He says, who?
Yeah.
Because he hasn't been filled in yet.
Who is Thanos? That's what he said.
Yeah, so that's when the credits start rolling. Right after that, after the credits roll, we get Tony Stark and Pepper Potts are engaged. They're not exactly married.
Yeah, they're not. I thought they were married, but no, they're just engaged because you immediately see a big rock on her. On her hand, so they're talking about getting married and stuff like that. Yeah,
so they're talking about getting married, and it's an adorable scene. I think they're walking through Central Park.
Yeah, and then she's mad at him because something about his thingy,
Oh,
and
he
was supposed to be
upgraded.
done with it or something like that.
So he upgrades his chest piece, and pretty much, like, it's the introduction of his nanotechnology that he has in the comics, and his nanotech, the costumes in this shit, or his new armor is completely badass. It's some of the most badass shit that I've ever seen as far as Iron Man, and not only that, but I will get into another thing later with Spider-Man, but it's pretty badass.
But they introduced it because he was like talking about having kids with Pepper, and he's like, well, I only got this to save our future us's, which is what he said.
Yeah.
So that's why she was like, fine, but yeah.
And then who comes in right now?
And then here comes Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange doing
his little circle
his sling ring coming in with the portal, and then, you know, the egos clash.
But they start talking about like Thanos is coming or something, and then he, you know, Stark is like, "What? Who are you?" First of all, and then Bruce Banner comes out and he's like, "Hey."
And that's like we haven't seen him for a long minute.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh my goodness!" So they give each other a big hug, like, "What up, dog?" And that's right then and there. There's a people running, and they go and investigate all these people running, and there's all this shaking. Oh no! Wait.
So Stark leaves Pepper, and then he goes through that thing to New York, back to Doctor Strange's house.
Okay.
And then that's when they're all talking, and then the Wong is explaining the Infinity Stones and saying like where they came from and stuff like that. And then in the middle of Stark and Doctor Strange being both douchebags and clashing, they're so similar. This movie made me think, I was like, they're both douchebags. Like, one's realized he was a douchebag, but they're both douchebags.
But Doctor Strange is one of the most powerful characters in the entire Marvel Universe. Like, you don't realize it. I think even after seeing this movie, you don't really realize how powerful Doctor Strange actually is in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I had to see Doctor Strange to realize his power of Doctor Strange.
And even then, it's not fully realized, like, because he's only had one movie, and you haven't seen him come as a whole when he understands all his spells and powers and all that. But
so he's explaining the Infinity Stones, where they're at, why they're created, and then when they look outside, they hear noise and people running, and then that's when they go out and
investigate. Sorry about that. And we see things flying, debris going crazy. We're introduced to 3 of the main baddies. They call themselves Thanos' children. One is this big hulking brute with an axe and a chain. And
one looks like Squidward.
Another looks like Squidward, but he's immensely more powerful than him and the female character that has a long spear, almost like a scythe. It is a scythe, and
I have to admit, they have some good one-liners in this, because the guy that's very powerful, he has telekinetic powers.
Yeah, so he has he uses telekinesis, and he uses it very, very cool, elegantly in this.
You know Tony Stark, so he said Squidward. So they have some of the best one-liners, and that's when the comedy starts.
So that's when we see Wong and what's his face? Doctor Strange, Bruce Banner. Oh yeah, we see Bruce Banner, and he can't get it up. Essentially, he can't transform back into Bruce back into Hulk. He goes, "Come on, Hulk!" Like the whole movie is pretty much having a conversation with himself or the Hulk, because obviously now after you saw Ragnarok, they're 2 different entities.
Yep.
And like Hulk would talk, and they would even do this weird Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde split face thing.
Yeah.
Where he would come out and be like, "No," he's like, "What do you mean no?"
Yeah.
So it was kind of.
Come on, play, you know?
I think those were the only scenes. Every time I saw that was kind of like, oh, get that over with.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, that was the only time in the entire movie that I was like, ugh.
I feel like they're going to explain that later, though.
Well, I mean, they kind of already did. I think they hearkened enough to it. But, you know, Hulk can talk, but he also talks as a separate entity, and so does Bruce Banner talking to himself, and he's like, "Come on, guy, I can't do it." And then, Tony Stark hits him with the, "You're embarrassing me in front of the wizards."
Oh yeah, that was
because he can't do it, and so Wong pretty much makes another portal and takes Bruce Banner out of the fight because he can't get it up.
Yeah, and more of a liability, so get out of here.
That's when we see the nanotech in action for the first time, and holy crap, it's badass.
Really
I mean,
cool.
It spreads out. It does all these different weapons. I mean, he has new weapons where he does like these really fast, like faster than we've ever seen, kind of proton shots that just like really fast. He does it a couple times throughout the thing.
And he has a major thing where he sits in the middle, but then he has 4.
So like back plates come off.
2 strips, and then it like just attacks.
Yeah,
like that was cool.
That was sick. And yeah, so the big guy is fighting. No, he gets sent. He gets sent off into a part of the park.
Yeah, because
Is that because he gets hit with the beam?
Yeah,
right?
he gets hit. Tony Stark put something in his hand, so make him fly or something like that, or I don't know. But he ended up in the park somewhere, and then
that's when
Stark went there too, and then yeah, Bruce went there.
Okay, and that's when we see actually it kind of cuts. I'm pretty sure back to Peter Parker on a bus with his high school mates.
Oh yeah, so they're fighting in New York at the park or whatever, and then
and we see a big ship in the background. That big ship just so happens to be Thanos' ship, and
it's like a giant wheel.
Yeah, it's like a giant donut. As Stark says, it's like the flying donut, space donut, and
so
Peter Parker sees it and he's like, "Oh my goodness!" We see his friend, his bestie. He's like, "I need you to cause a distraction." And then he looks out the window. He's like, "We're all gonna die!" Like really fast.
and they all run to the back side of the bus.
And that allows Peter Parker to grab a window, pull it open, slip out. But then we see who's the driver, and of course the driver is Stan Lee. He was like, "You kids and your crazy."
You act like you haven't seen a spaceship before. That's what he says.
And so and that's when Peter Parker obviously gets into the fight, and I'm pretty sure he gets so he gets into the fight.
And the first thing he says, "Hi, Mr. Stark, what's going on?" He's such a kid that's so adorable.
Yeah, and he has some great lines in this. Peter Parker does. Like, "Hey, Mr. Stark," and it's funny.
Who's this guy?
He obviously Tony still holds some kind of like responsibility, father figure kind of over him, where he doesn't want him to fight. He doesn't even want him there, and they're just having this whole father-son discussion. Like, "I don't want you here. Like, get out of here." And he's like, "No, man, I'm gonna stay." And then so
while they're fighting.
While they're fighting,
he's explained there's wizards and stuff, and it was just funny.
So what happens during the park scene? How are the bad guys sent off again?
So the Guang. He was fighting, he did the portal. Remember he sent that big guy in that ice snow thing.
Oh, that's right, he cuts his hand off.
So him and Bruce Banner are like, he does a portal, he sends the bad guy there.
It's like a Himalayas
and then the bad guy was going like this and he chops off his hand.
He closes the portal just enough time where the only thing that got through was the arm, and so it cuts off the arm of the guy.
And then it bounces in front of Bruce, and then Bruce kicks it. He's like, "Ew!"
He's like, "Ew!"
Yeah, he kicks it, and then that's how that guy disappears.
Yeah, so...
And then I thought it was just him and Squidward. Okay,
so Squidward is the only one that really gets away.
Yeah.
The female too, I forget how, but...
I don't remember her being there. I just remember it being Squidward and just the big guy?
Okay.
Yeah, the girl wasn't there yet.
Okay, so...
Because he gets sent off in the snow, and then Doctor Strange is the only one left fighting with Squidward, and he's like, "Give me the Tazarite." So they're fighting.
Not the Tazarite. I mean, he has the Mind Stone.
Yeah, the Time Stone.
The Time Stone. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
That he uses. That's on the Eye of Agamotto.
What the hell is the Eye of Agamotto? What?
The Eye of Agamotto from Doctor Strange. So okay.
Oh, the Time Stone.
Yeah. So the Time Stone is on the Eye of Agamotto. And
that's when Squidward and him were fighting on their own on the building, and then he put Doctor Strange put a spell on the Time Stone, so he's like, "I'm gonna take it off your corpse then." So then they're fighting. Everyone else is busy or fighting other things. I don't know where they went.
They were in like the part of Central Park.
Right, and then so Doctor Strange.
They go back onto the ship. The big space donut. The space donut is starting to fly out of Earth's atmosphere, pretty much back into space.
But he forgot So the Squidward has Doctor Strange.
Yeah, he has him.
Yeah. We didn't say that.
Oh, okay. Well, now we did.
Yeah. So Doctor Strange, but then he has the cape. So you know how his cape is smart. He pulls out of that thing, but then he ended up getting beamed up, and then Tony Stark's like, "Kid, that's the wizard. That's what you need to go after." Mm-hmm. And then Peter Parker went after him, and then that's when they got beamed up together.
Peter Parker's on the ship, and they're going into space, and they're getting higher and higher and higher. And obviously, he only has his regular uniform on. That's when we get Tony Stark saying something along the lines of A6, and then this particular A6 launches something from the Avengers headquarters, and that thing pretty much reaches Tony Parker just in time when he's running out of oxygen to breathe, going into space. And Tony pretty much tells him like, "Hey man, put on this suit." Dude, I mean, the suit is the what's it called? Technology.
The same technology that he has now. That new technology.
Yeah.
The
nanotech. So it pretty much hits Peter Parker's back, wraps around him, gives him the new Iron Spider suit, which is completely badass.
It is so cool.
And that allows him to revive and breathe in space. and Tony Parker's pretty much not Tony Parker.
Stark was like, "All right, he's talking to the computer. He's like, get out of here." So then he shoots the parachute.
A parachute, and he goes like, "All right, I need you out of here," and then he pretty much punches it in. A parachute ejects from Peter Parker's back and launches him off the space donut.
Did
but of
he say
course,
like, "Oh man," or he said something?
He's like, "No, I want to have fun."
Yeah, it was so funny what he said though. He flew off and he's like, "Oh man."
So obviously you can't keep a good spider down because he just webs himself back into the ship without Tony Stark knowing, and Tony Stark sneaks onto one side of the ship. Peter Parker sneaks onto the another side of the ship, and that's when we cut into the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Nah.
Because they don't show them getting tortured until later.
Not yet. Yeah, that's when that's when they introduce the Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's when, of course, we hear some gnarly 80s music.
And that's when you know it's Guardians.
That's when you know it's Guardians. And they're, of course, on their ship interacting. And there's all the greatest dialogue comes from them, of course, in this one also. They start talking about... they're playing some jams. And Rocket is waking up. So Drax is sleeping. And... Gamora is pretty much in tune with the music that Peter likes now.
She was singing with it.
Yeah, she's just like bobbing her head and singing with it, and we see there. Groot, of course, is a teenager, and he's just stuck on the video games. He's not doing nothing but playing. I don't know what it was, some handheld.
It was like arcade something.
Yeah.
And he's not Baby Groot anymore.
He's teenage Groot.
Yeah.
And he says something along like the line. He's basically, a rebellious teenager, and he says something.
He tells them, Star-Lord tells him to freaking put the games away. And he's like, "I am Groot." Like,
he's like, "I am Groot," and then that's when he goes like, "Man, you got some acorns on you." And it's kind of the nod, and that's when you also hear what's his face, Rocket, even is on Peter's side. He's like, "Whoa, I never would have thought I heard that from you." And so, the whole interaction, of course, is classic Guardians and fantastic. They're obviously more tight-knit now.
Yeah.
And they're going on a mission to retrieve or find out what this signal that's being sent to them. It's an SOS signal, so they're investigating because obviously they kind of roam around space hunting for money. Really, is all they do.
Distress signal.
So they go like, we gotta find this ship, and that's what's gonna be our money. If he doesn't give us money, whoever this person is that sent out this signal, we're taking his fucking ship. Mm-hmm. And of course, when they get there to the signal, it's nothing but pieces and everything's blown up, and they're like, what the hell is going on? And that's when they realize there's no ship. That ship we know was destroyed because that was Thor's ship. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that happens is Thor's dead body. It's not his dead body.
We assume, but the body just hits the windshield.
And then Rocket's like, put the windshield wipers on, get it off.
Yeah, he's like, get it off. And then you see Thor's one eye open, and then they're like, how is he alive out there? Mm-hmm. So then they bring him aboard ship.
Yeah, and that's when Peter's just kind of, they have him resting on this center console thing, and Peter's just like, whoa, like this guy's huge. And the Mantis, she can obviously, read people's emotions. She's an empathizer, and she puts her hands on his head, and she starts telling kind of more or less Thor's story, what he's just gone through.
But the best line was like, when Drax was like, "This is no boy, you're a boy, this is a man."
This is a man.
So they kept going back and forth of how manly and hulkish,
that Thor
is.
Yeah.
So, because that played a lot into the next couple scenes.
And they called him, what kind of pirate did they call him?
Instead of a pirate and an angel had a baby.
The angel pirate? He'd be an angel pirate.
It'd be Thor.
He goes like, his is a man. And pretty much it's like an insult to Peter, and he's just like, he's more like an angel pirate.
Yeah. So, and then Gamora comes around and rubs his muscles, and freaking Star-Lord, he's like, you don't have to rub his muscles. Like, stop rubbing his muscles.
He's like, can you stop rubbing his muscles?
Yeah.
And she's just like, oh my gosh, she was like finding out about this, how much battle he's been through.
But yeah,
she could tell because his skin was so thick and dense. And so they tell him to wake up. Mantis wakes him up with her powers. He comes to and starts pretty much telling his story about what he lost and what he's gonna go do, and that's to kill Thanos. And that's we get a lot of scenes between the Guardians and Thor, and pretty much Peter's kind of jealous of that Thor's trying to console Gamora. And he steps in.
Like this. And then he's like, I lost someone too or something, so I know how it feels or something. And then he's like, I know how it feels to lose someone. I lost my mother and I had to kill my father. And then he goes on and on about his story. But
so yeah, obviously the banter between them is genius. But that's when they pretty much are going to separate because Thor's going to take a pod to go forge a new weapon at this other planet, and Raccoon, who he calls
Rabbit.
He calls him Rabbit, and
the whole movie.
The Rabbit, and he calls the baby Groot. He calls him Tree.
Tree.
They go with him to pretty much help him forge this weapon, while the Guardians go. So Guardians go off and do a different path, and I think that's pretty much when we cut back to Tony Stark and
it jumps back to them.
Or we cut back to Doctor Strange being tortured.
Yeah,
by Squidward, and that's when it's we see Tony Stark kind of sneaking in, and then we see Peter Parker also sneaking in as well.
But Stark's looking at him with the cape, because the cape's with him too.
The cape also sneaks in.
So the cape and the Stark were looking at him, trying to figure out what to do, and then here comes Peter Parker, like, hey, I'm here too.
Yeah, so pretty much they make another hint at the, hey, you know, what do we got to do here? What are we going to do after some banter, you know, more father-son banter? Make your move, Spider-Boy. And Peter Parker, of course, goes, hey, you remember that really old movie, Alien? And I knew right away what they were gonna do. I was like, he's gonna blow a hole in the damn hatch and suck out Squidward.
I didn't. I was just laughing because the aliens. And as soon as he said that, he's like, they're gonna blow the latch or something like that.
Yeah, I was like, they're gonna open the air latch, the power bay door, or whatever the fuck it was. And anyways, so they open that up after doing like some. Well, they get his attention, and Squidward's attention, and they blow a hole through the back of the. A partnership and sucks Squidward out, kills him in the vacuum of space.
Yeah, so he's gone.
Yeah, so that guy's dead. They free.
And Stark comes and seals it with his new freaking suit, which is awesome.
Yeah, so he seals that. But then that's when we also see Spider-Man's his little arachnid legs from his Iron Spider suit actually come out. He has the same amount. He has 5 legs, 3 on one side, 2 on the other. You probably didn't catch that.
No.
But that's pretty much how it was.
I just said it was cool.
Yeah, so he comes out and stops himself and crawls himself back in.
Yeah.
And then right then and there, Doctor Strange is free from the clutches of death. And he still has the Eye of Agamotto. So they also start interacting again. Doctor Strange pretty much puts it right there, bluntly. Like, if it comes between you, the boy, or the entire universe, I'm going to make sure, he's like, you and the boy will die. And he's like, I protect the time stone and all of the universe. That is my job.
I mean, because that's his job.
I know. Tony Stark says it right there. And he's like, all right, good. At least you got, you know, ill wills out of the way.
Yeah.
So he knows that he has a motive. He has a drive.
Yeah, so they have their banter, and then they're stuck on the ship because they can't come home. So he's like, you can bring us home, right? And Stark's like,
No, they don't know where they're going. All they know is that they're going to, if they go back to the planet Earth, we're gonna lose a lot because of what happened in the original Avengers, when Thanos pretty much told Loki as an agent of him to wreck shop and take over all of Earth, and that obviously we weren't prepared for. So imagine if Thanos, the actual guy, the chief, came in and started wrecking shop. It'd be even worse. More than likely he would win just with 2 stones. So they decided, let's just ride this ship back to wherever.
Fight to him.
Yeah. Back to him and ride us to wherever it's going, and we'll go there and then go from there. And so they agree.
They continue on their journey, and then it goes to
Titan. That ship, as we later find out, is going to the planet Titan, where Thanos. It was his original homeworld, and he allowed it to be destroyed so that essentially he can save all of humanity on his planet.
And then after that, it jumps to what characters?
After that, it jumps to.
There's so many jumping in this.
Yeah, there's a lot of jumping.
So many
because they have a lot of characters to jump to. But we jump to Scotland, and in Scotland,
oh, that's right.
It's Scarlet Witch and Vision, and Vision is in human form now. He's pretty much gone off the grid, even from Tony Stark, and we found out a lot more in this flick now. Like, we know that Gamora and Peter are together now. Like, they kiss and they have a big old smooching fest. And
I was excited.
then we also find out that Vision and Scarlet Witch are, I mean,
together.
they are sleeping together. They are fucking, okay? We wake up and they are in bed. We get to the scene, they are in bed from
He's
just...
on the window looking outside, and she comes out of the
Yeah,
bed.
they had just gotten their fuck on. Like, so they just got their fuck on. We're watching, we're like, okay, this is happening. And, I enjoyed their little scene together. Like, Vision is discovering his humanity. Well, and it also shows that he's doing that while also... trying to just be in this relationship with the person that he was giving care
them
to.
together.
Yeah, it was
He's been trying to
perfect.
get up that skirt for like how many movies ago?
Yeah, since the beginning. And but he obviously can turn back into robotic Vision at a whim because
So that
they see news report on a TV shop, like a shop window, and there's a TV and it says breaking news, New York attacked, and of course it shows all the damn aliens again, the big old space donut once again makes its return, and...
But he knew something was wrong earlier, because in the first scene he starts messing with his stone and something that was worrying him.
that's right.
So when he said that I have to go, she was like, no, but they're in the middle of the street, and then that's when they look at the shop, and then they see the... they see that.
Boom, he gets stabbed. That was the first
so
like
he's
jump
talking to
scare
her,
moment.
telling her,
weird thing.
stay here, before you know it, bam.
He gets stabbed by
stabbed.
some other aliens that we meet.
The other
And
Thanos rebellion people.
Yeah, Thanos children, and these guys are just straight up fighters. They're not like mystical beings or nothing. They're just straight fighters. And that's when we meet the girl.
That's when the girl.
That's when we meet the
girl's
girl
with that guy.
Yeah, so they pretty much start wrecking Vision. They start. If you see that scene in the previews when there's a blade to the stone. And he's screaming, that's the character that's pretty much trying to rip off the blade. Mm-hmm. But we see Scarlet Witch do some damage in this damn movie. And she really showcases some crazy powers. Obviously, there's too much of her to really let her cut loose because she can essentially just change realities on a whim.
She's amazing. I like her.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I heart her.
The entire gauntlet, all the powers that the gauntlet has, she can easily...
do most of
those powers, but on her own. Like, she doesn't need any help on that shit. She is those things.
So they're fighting those characters like for a long time, and then like she's trying to save him, and then they go off, and then they're
getting fucked up. They're gonna die, like pretty much. They're getting wrecked.
So then like what's his name? Vision. So he's already on the floor, and he's like telling her like just go.
And she's consoling him like, okay, we'll make this last move. But then all of a sudden,
so the two characters,
the silhouette
the bad guys come, and then you see the bad girl look that way, and then Scarlet Witch is like, what is she looking at? And then you see Bay.
You see Captain America and you see Black Widow.
Heck yeah, other Bay.
Yeah, other Bay. And then of course come flying in is Falcon making a sick ass move, just like a simple drop kick. And they just wreck these fools.
So then they start fighting together.
So the one girl and the guy, they get wrecked and they let them go. And she goes like, "This will be your only time." Actually, no, the guy dies, right?
Scarlet Witch was she was gonna say, "We could kill you, but I don't want to," or something like that. And she's like, "This will be your only time."
Yeah.
And then they get beamed up.
They get beamed up.
So then
back
that's
to the
all
ship.
we see of that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's when we cut back to Rhodey, and Rhodey is obviously still having problems with his legs. He has a whole brace and a machine thing helping him walk, and he's having some kind of 3D discussion, some kind of VR weird chamber discussion with all the people that wrote the Sokovia Accords, and of course Captain America, Vision, Scarlet Witch, people pretty much everybody that was on the blacklist that just went dark shows up at this place where Rhodey is, and they tell him, okay, arrest them, and he's just like, yeah, will do. He cuts them off, and all of a sudden, of course, a sound goes off, and it's like, well, I just got court-martialed. So, but he accepts it, Rhodey does, because he knows that the fate of the universe and the world is at hand, and is at stake.
So they're catching up, and then all of a sudden Bruce comes from the shadows,
Bruce Banner comes
and of course it gets to Scarlet, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, and obviously we know that they're probably never going to be together.
Yeah.
So he pretty much have a little mini reunion there, and that's when we go into...
I'm trying to think where we go, like, because there's so many jump scenes, I'm like, I can't keep track.
I think we go into a background flash of Gamora. She is pretty much remembering her childhood, like her wee
like
baby
Thanos
childhood.
got her. Okay.
Yeah, so Thanos shows up on her planet, and everybody's kind of being seized, more or less, very Nazi Gestapo-like, you know, and he walks her off because he sees that she has some fight in her, like she's fighting his little fingers off, and he's trying to like, and he goes, "Girl, come with me. You have a little fight in you." And he's very charismatic for being a warlord, of course. Most warlords are. I'd say they all are. And he walks her off, and he goes like, "See, like, look at this knife. It's perfectly balanced." And he shows her this crazy double-bladed knife.
That's a pretty knife.
And he gives it to her, and as soon as he goes, "Now you try balancing it," the camera pans out, and of course all of her people get slaughtered because, and she's like about to turn around to look, but he kind of jumps in the way a little bit and
He's
just goes like,
"No."
"Keep focusing." Like, get it under control, and that's pretty much how he
took her.
Took her, yeah. So, yeah, they go to the collector. That's where they were going. They were going. The Guardians went to find the collector to get the other stone, and they get there, and it's kind of still looking pristine, not too crazy, shabby, bad. But we see Thanos there, and
he's already has the collector on the floor.
Yeah, he has the collector on the floor. He's whooping that ass, and then. Who makes the move? Oh, Drax, of course, is like, "I'm gonna kill Thanos for all my people."
Yeah, because it was Drax and the Star-Lord and Gamora and Mantis.
Yeah, and they're trying to sneak in, but of course, Drax ain't having that. And Peter is like, Star-Lord's like, he's like, go right," and they're like, "Nope." They just keep on ignoring everything he's saying.
Well, they had to stop Drax because Drax was already gonna go, so Mantis came behind him and said sleep, and then he freaking knocked down, and then this loud ass noise happened
because he's so big.
And then that's how they got Thanos' attention.
Yeah, so Thanos throws the collector into a little one of his cages
pod thing.
Yeah. And that's when Gamora just pretty much, she loses it, jumps over Peter after he says to go right, but instead ignores him as well.
He's like, "Your other right."
And she quickly just dispatches Thanos, but of course that is fake Thanos because he also has the reality stone, so he has just warped the reality. All of it dissipates after he sees Gamora crying for him. Like, she still considers him like a father figure because it's all she's ever known.
Yeah.
So when she kills the fake Thanos,
she stabs him with the double blade that she
received, and her other blade. Like, she sticks the fake Thanos in the throat, and that's when all of a sudden we're just like, "Oh shit!" But she starts crying over him because she's like, and she calls him father. But that's when all reality is distorted because he had the reality stone to do that. He was just testing her because she knew that she would come to intercept, and he kidnaps her, and she told what's his face, Peter.
She told Peter earlier,
like, kill me if Thanos gets me. Like, you have to, and I can't tell you why. But he makes the promise on his mother's life that he would kill her, and he actually so
Thanos has her like about to kidnap her, and then so Peter was like at the gun at him, but then she's like, "You promised," and then he pointed it at her, and then he did shoot her, but he turned it into bubbles.
Thanos turned it into pretty bubbles.
And then before they disappeared, Gamora and Thanos, he's like, "I like him."
Yeah, Thanos was just like, "I like him," because he was willing to do whatever it took to, you know, to make sure that, because he loves his girl, he loved Gamora, and he had a hard ass time even doing it. So don't get it twisted.
And they both said "I love you" too before they did.
Yeah,
that's what I thought was cute. I'm like, "Yeah,
I love you."
Said it.
And
then they disappeared.
And they disappeared, and that's when we know that we're back on Thanos' ship, right? Thanos' ship is he has her sister.
She's like almost like disassembled to like death, like hanging.
Nebula's there, and we see the front of her, and she's kind of like stretched out like this. And that's when all of a sudden the camera pans a little bit over, and you see all her pieces are stretched out, and she's being tortured. Yeah. So it's pretty badass seeing how they do her.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And Thanos is pretty much torturing her to get the information out of Gamora because he knows that Gamora loves her, and he's like, "Where is that stone? The Soul Stone?" And she's like, "I don't know where it is." And he goes, "Well, you're fucking lying, and I know you're lying because he has the backup recordings of Nebula." So he punches it in, and it projects out of her eyeballs, all creepy like. And it's a conversation between her and Nebula saying like, "I know where the map is. I burned the map. So I know where the stone is, but that map is gone now. He'll never find it." So he shows her that and starts torturing Nebula. Of course, she breaks and tells him which planet it's on. I forget the name of the planet.
Nevar or Nevar, something like that.
Something R. And yeah, so that's when that goes down, and then we
like,
see.
show me where it's at. So they end up going to that planet.
They go up to that planet, but of course we cut back to Thor and Raccoon.
Yeah, back to
Thor and what does he call him? Rabbit. Thor and Rabbit.
Thor, Rabbit, and Tree.
Thor, Rabbit, and Tree. Of course, Tree's still playing with his video games. They're on another planet, one more of like the Asgardian planets. We meet a giant, which is kind of funny because that giant just so happens to be Peter Dinklage.
Freaking Game of Thrones. And he's a giant instead of a dog.
Yeah, and this he's a fucking giant. He's massive, and he was also the weapon forger. Like he was like the weapon master on this planet, and this planet was essentially just made to forge Asgardian tech, and it was destroyed, of course, by Thanos. So
because he wanted that gauntlet handmade.
That's right.
So
this guy made the gauntlet for Thanos to hold the Infinity Stones. He needed something powerful enough to hold all the power of the stones.
And if he told him, if you make it, spare your people or whatever, but he ended up killing everybody and just leaving that one dwarf.
The master, not
and
a dwarf.
Then,
but...
No, but that's what
he still does call himself a dwarf.
Yeah, he calls himself a dwarf.
Oh,
that's
right.
That planet was for 300 dwarfs. And he ended up wiping off everybody, and then he was the only one left. And he's like, well, Thanos, you can have your life, but your hands are mine. So his hands are made out of metal, or that liquid metal.
He basically pretty much molds his hands and keeps the metal on his hands. So like he puts, I don't know, essentially puts his hands inside some molten core, and that shit locks onto his arms. Yeah. So he's kind of useless there. But so him and Thor got into like a mini argument, kind of fight thing.
Saying that you're supposed to protect us, but then he didn't know that the Asgardian people were gone.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh shit, no, this is real, because Asgard was supposed to protect them. Ain't nobody in Asgard.
Ain't nobody in Asgard. Asgard's gone too.
Yeah.
So that's when he decides to make an axe, right? And then the axe is going to be getting forged, and but he has to, of course, go through some. This was like the whole filler section. He has to.
Yeah, he's trying that main star.
Yeah, he has to connect this dead star, and he has to get this entire thing spinning so that the forge will start. And of course, Thor, being very Thorish and brute strength and all manner of funny, decides I can fucking do it. And he goes like, dude, you'll die. He goes like, that's only if I do die, or some shit like that, right? And he's just like, and then Peter Dinklage is like, yeah, that's what happens. That's what death means. So it's pretty like, it's kind of like some man theory there, like this is total meathead theory. Like, I'll die. Like, yeah. He's like, only if it kills me. Only if it kills me. And then he goes,
that's what being killed means.
That's what being killed means. That's what he says.
Yeah,
that's essentially what he says.
Means. So he gets Rocket and on the ship, and then spins that
ship around,
and then grabs that wheel just to get the wheel going, to get the star.
So what he does, follow along if you will. He jumps, because obviously Thor can breathe in space. He's a god. He goes on this little mini ship, the pod that they escaped on, and starts spinning it really fast with Rocket Raccoon in it, still piloting it, and then decides to kind of more or less let go of it a little bit, but to use the momentum of the spin to get the rings moving in space.
So Rocket's firing when he lets him go, then he goes
and then he says, hit the afterburners, and of course he does, so he gives enough power to move the rings. Like I said, a big old filler part of the movie.
Yeah.
More slower than everything else in the entire flick. This is really kind of where it slowed down.
It ended up not staying on anyway, and then Thor had to risk his life to hold the thing open because the doors closed and they couldn't get that straight beam.
So the star had to shoot. The star was shooting all of its power, its energy through this beam, but of course he had to stand in the middle to connect the beam together, and it had to shoot through him.
Because it had to melt the metal, so that way he could make his
so he could make the forge, and of course, so the metal gets forged in this encasement, but they need to find something like a handle to connect the two pieces, and the dwarf doesn't know where to get that, so
he goes off and looks for the handle.
So Groot, because he sees Thor dying from the immense energy he just took in.
Thor gets swung back into wherever they were at, and then he's still on his video games, but then he looks all sad because now he sees Thor almost dying in the thing, and Rocket's like, he's dying.
And so Groot uses his Groot-like abilities, his little tree abilities, and connects the two pieces together and makes the handle for Thor, and pretty much cuts himself essentially off, and then now he has a handle and the axe is complete. And
that's a pretty badass weapon, though.
It starts
like,
sparking.
With his root thing and the metal. Like, I was like, that's actually.
I was
pretty
like,
badass.
I want that in God of War.
Yeah, I was like, I actually like that better than the hammer.
Yeah,
like, it came out really nice. I like it better than the hammer.
I like the hammer. The hammer has Mjolnir means a lot. So mealworms. So the hammer gets connected. The sparks start flying out of.
You see Thor's hands like twitching,
doing little thunder magic.
Sparks. Yeah.
And we know that he's pretty much fortified his weapon. And
so he's got his weapon, he's good now.
Yeah, so that's when we cut back to planet Earth, right?
I'm trying to think.
Oh,
Why didn't we go to Wakanda?
After that, we go, I'm not sure if we go to, Wakanda's at the end. If we either go to Titan, the dead planet, where Tony Stark.
Oh, that's right, they start fighting again.
Well, they're not fighting, essentially they're making their plan. They're arguing.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so it's Tony Stark and then Doctor Strange and the Peter guy.
Yeah, so the remaining members of the Guardians, which is going to be
Mantis,
Drax, and Peter.
Yeah.
That's it. And they all wind up showing up on a planet Titan, which is the dead planet that Thanos was on, his home planet that he destroyed to save the people, whatever it is, however his misguided beliefs is. And so yeah, they get there and they just decide to hatch a plan because they just know that Thanos is going to return there for some reason or another. Oh no, they know because the Eye of Agamotto. That's why. Because he's essentially he's just tracking wherever they are, the power that these things emanate. So
it was funny because Tony Stark was trying to make a plan, and Drax is over here yawning, and Tony's like, "Are you yawning in my plan?" And then he's just like, because Mantis is like not very bright.
She's like having fun in space
Yeah,
because there's
she's all
0 G, so
jumping
she's like
around
jumping around. It's hilarious. It's adorable, actually.
So he's just looking at them like, this is what I have to work with. Like, we're gonna die because we have to deal with these freaking morons. And then so him and Peter are going back and forth bantering, or Star-Lord are bantering about who's making the plan and what. So.
And you know what? We missed the thing too when Peter introduced himself to Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah,
so
that was funny.
He's like, I'm Tony Stark, and then
no, he's like, I'm Doctor Strange.
No, well, he goes, I'm Tony Stark. Then Strange goes, Doctor Strange, and then Peter Parker's like, oh no.
No, this was like way after because
this was earlier. This was way earlier, and he goes, hey, there's my buddy or whatever, and he's like, and so Doctor Strange turns around. And of course,
he's like, I haven't introduced myself yet.
And he's like, Peter Parker, and he goes, Doctor Strange, and that's when Peter Parker's like, oh wait, we're using fake identities.
We're using our made up names.
Yeah, we're using made up names. Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So that was funny. Anyways, back to where we currently are. They're making their plan. Then we jump back to Thanos and Gamora, and they are on this crazy planet to look for the Soul Stone. And lo and behold, if you were watching the non-spoiler sections, if you got this far. This is where this particular character makes a play, which is essentially you just see this robed figure with this crazy voice and what looks something like death, even though death plays a big part of Thanos' love of death or whatever it is. But we see this character robed and tells him that you have to make a sacrifice. This planet takes everything you have. And Thanos is like, I'm willing to accommodate that to get what I need. So he takes him to a specific point on this planet where he goes, that's where the stone is.
But it was funny because before that, when he comes out of the shadow and he shows his face, it was all quiet and he's like, oh shit. And then I'm like, what did I miss? So then that's when he realized it was...
Well, that's when you realize when the camera cuts forward, exactly, the veil is kind of, the shadow of the veil is kind of brushed to the side, and you see that it's the Red Skull, because who the fuck knew what happened to him? I mean, we, as fans, and the general fan theory and logic goes, in Captain America: First Avenger, when the Red Skull dies, he just gets sucked up by the Bifrost, but we don't know what that is, so we're all left to assume that he's just dead. Yeah. And we're just, it was almost like they retconned it. Nobody knew what was going on. We're like, okay, they wrote him off. But later on in Thor, we see that that's the same effect that was used to travel between dimensions or realms of the Bifrost between Asgard and Midgard, which was Earth. So of course, now they explain that is that the Red Skull went to this planet to pretty much look for the remaining stones, and of course he had no way of getting back, and he had nothing to sacrifice to get the Soul Stone, even though he knew the lore. But he tells Thanos, and it turns out, and this is the only time I actually felt bad for Thanos, because he goes, you have to kill something, give up something that you love. And Gamora,
that you something that you
yeah,
love.
you have to sacrifice something that you love, and immediately Gamora starts laughing like, you lost. Like, you have nothing that you love.
That kind of annoyed me, and I'm like thinking in my head, like, how stupid are you? Because I'm like, you're a bright girl. How do you not know that he loved her?
I don't think she knew that.
He loved her,
No,
and then I'm
but
just like, how do you not know that he loved you? He would have killed you. How he had so many opportunities to kill your ass. You're still alive with him, and it's like you don't realize that he loves you. That's why I started laughing, and I'm like, are you dumb? Like,
well, I mean, I generally think that she didn't think that. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Like, I generally, because she knew that she was taken prisoner. She knew that she was just...
yeah, like he's, in a sense, though, he saved her.
No.
Well, because you said that they were scrounging around and stuff. Like, when he had her, the little girl, he could have killed her if he wanted to.
Yeah, but she would have rather died.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't know. I'm just like, how do you not know? Out of all the times that you've been with him, that you could have killed him, you tried killing him, and he still didn't try to kill you.
And then the whole time she's thinking that he's just using her to get what he wants.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know that she's going to be the one that has to be essentially sacrificed, because he starts crying. And
then he's like, the other guy, the Red Skull, is like, those tears aren't for him.
Damn it. So he starts crying. She's like, ha, you've lost. Before that, she's like, ha, you've lost. You love nothing. You can get nothing because you have nothing to sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And she's like, and now you're crying? Wow, big pity for you. And that's when the Red Skull chimes in.
Yeah.
Like, those tears aren't for him. And
then that's what she realizes.
That's when she realizes, like, he actually legitimately loved her as a daughter in his own kind of twisted way. And that's when he also knows, I mean, he kind of just more or less goes through this whole, memory of her pretty much serving him and helping him, and how he just genuinely cared for her, even, like I said, in his own twisted way. But then he grabs her, throws her off, and she dies.
Like, bye.
Yeah, so we see her at the bottom of this pit, and blood, all her green blood is just spewed everywhere. She's dead, and the Soul Stone is his now. And that's when we cut all the way back to the planet that Tony Stark, Peter Parker, and the three Guardians are at, the Titan planet. And he goes there because he needs the Time Stone. So they get into this big old fight, and they start fucking his ass up. Don't get me wrong, Thanos is holding his own. He goes through the whole rigmarole of explaining the planet and what happened there and all the nature of it and everything about it. Yeah. But he starts fucking these bitches up, but they are still holding their own. And of course they concoct this plan where they're using sick ass magic from Doctor Strange. Like
everyone is using what their specialties are. Pretty
he's
much.
Teleporting Peter Parker, and he's like, magic kick. Every time he comes out, he's like, magic punch.
Yeah, so he's like hopping in and one portal out and beating him up, and then jumping into another one.
And then, of course, their trick play was Mantis dropping in from a different portal out of nowhere, landing on top of Thanos after they have one webbed up. Peter's using his suction landmine that sucks you to the floor.
And then Stark is trying to pull off.
Stark is essentially trying to pull off, and that's when we get an idea of Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange using like this magic lasso around the gauntlet, and also creates the portal for Mantis to fall through and land on Thanos' head to put him asleep. But she can't completely put him under because he's too powerful.
Yeah, but she still has him like down.
Yeah.
So she has him down while they're still portaling the thing off. Then Spider-Man goes and tries to help Tony Stark, and then they're asking where Gamora is, and then the sister comes out, and then she's like, because Mantis said he was mourning.
Yeah, so,
and then they're like, mourning what? And then she's like, Gamora.
Gamora, and that's when Tony's like, okay, so this is, when she lands on him, Peter, Star-Lord, automatically goes like, yep, that was my plan. So it was kind of like the more funny part. But, so then what winds up happening there is, yeah, so we jump to the scene where she says, you're mourning. He's mourning, and she kind of starts crying, Mantis does, because obviously she empathizes. and he is mourning. He's trying to tell them like I killed her, and that's when Star-Lord like pretty much planned going out the window. I'm about to punch you in the fucking face. And
then Tony's
like,
to stop him.
No, he's just talking to him. Like, he's like, stop, don't do this, not like this. He knows, he's like, I know what you're going through. Don't do this right now. We got, like, it's almost off. The gauntlet is this close to getting off. And of course, right when they pull it off, Peter smacks him in the face and wakes him
Tony
up.
Goes,
It knocks off Mantis off of the face of Thanos, and it snaps Thanos out of it. Thanos at the last second grabs the tip of the gauntlet, pulls it back, starts fucking all them up. Now he has pretty much 1, 2, 3, 4. He has this 5th stone on the way because he stabs Tony Stark at the end of this crazy battle, and we all are left thinking that Tony Stark is dead right there. Matter of fact, everybody in the theater was like, "Oh my god, no!" Like people were saying no.
People were saying no. That's the first time I ever heard that in the theater.
Yeah, like people were like, "No!" Like it was very reminiscent of what's it called, The Office. Like, no!
Oh yeah.
My God, no!
Steve
Yeah. God, no! Like it was very similar to that. And even then, I was like, I don't know if he's dying or not, but he has this huge blade, like his own nano blade got stuck through him because he switches his nano blade, goes to stick him, Thanos evades it, switches it behind the arm, and then just drives it right back through Tony.
And before that, real quick, while they were thinking of the plan, Doctor Strange already came out with all these 14,000 outcomes.
And that's another thing that shows you how powerful he is.
Like what's gonna happen.
15 million outcomes.
15 million outcomes of what we could.
Different timelines. Yeah. He's like, I followed 2 different timelines and 15 million different outcomes
of how this can go, their way. So then jump back.
And they go, how many of those did we win?
Yeah, he
said
1.
So that's when everything's going into motion.
So then they go back after Tony Stark, and then the guy's like, Doctor Strange is like, save him or not? What did he say? Save him or something, and I'll give you the stone.
No, he says, let him go. He didn't say save him because he can't save him. He says, let him go,
let him be.
And I'll give you the stone. And that's when Thanos goes, no trickery? And he goes like, no trickery. And so, of course, he lets him go, and he lives up to his word, man of his word, gives him the stone from the Eye of Agamotto that he was protecting. He just conjures it up, and then, of course, he takes it. Now he has 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th stone is on the knuckle, and then there was still one more stone, which is the big, giant, circular one.
Yeah, then Thanos disappears, and then Tony Stark's like, why did you do that? And he's like, this was the only way.
Like,
that's all he says.
Basically he says, this was the only way. So now we cut back to
yeah, I'm trying to think.
We cut back to Earth. So we cut back to Earth, and it's we're going to Wakanda, and Wakanda is pretty much they give what's his face Bucky a new arm.
Well, yeah, they go because the reason why they go to Wakanda now is because they found out that they could take the stone off of Vision and possibly leave Vision still.
Yeah, so they want.
So then they're like, well, what technology can do that? And then of course, Wakanda. And then that's when they go to Wakanda.
That's when they go to Wakanda. So now we got all these players, and the third act. We
all
are
the
in
major
the
hitters.
Are on Wakanda. Except for, we
got Bucky, Captain America, Black Widow, Vision,
all the tribes from Wakanda are there. They all show up. They know what's at stake.
Scarlet Witch, yeah. So all
Black Widow, you said that.
Black Widow, yeah.
Yeah, of course, Captain America, Falcon. Pretty much just everybody that's there that is on planet Earth at this time. And a couple ships start coming down, and that's when we know the battle's on. They meet in the middle of this giant grass field, similar to the way Black Panther was at the end. And these ships are just falling down out of the sky from Donut, whatever it is, Space Donut.
But they're hitting the orb, so
they're hitting this shielded look. Okay, because Wakanda is shielded, so they're hitting the shielded part of the Wakanda. Because they know where Wakanda is. I mean, they just know. Thor is way crazy high with the not Thor, but Thanos is crazy high with the technology, and. But
anyway, so he sent his ships there.
And all the girl with the scythe, the big guy with the hammer and chain, and Black Panther, Steve Rogers and Black Widow all meet up right near the end of the Shield, and they discuss to each other like, you know, are we gonna do this? Like, this is a big blood cost, and of course Thanos' children are like, we have a lot of blood to give, so they don't give a shit about that.
They have Vision up with the guy's Black Panther sister because you know she's hella smart. So she's the one that's saying that she can take apart the stone. So Scarlet Witch is with her and Vision trying to take out the stone while everyone else was down there fighting.
Yeah, so okay, so they're trying to take out the stone basically in a lab in the main building of Wakanda
so that
while
Wanda
this entire
can destroy
fight
it.
is going on.
She's the only one that can.
Yeah,
so.
well, she's not supposed to destroy it, she's supposed to protect him. But, if the shit goes down, she has to take it off.
What's his name said? Captain America said, Wanda, as soon as that stone is out, destroy it.
Well, yeah.
So, yeah, that was the point, was for her to destroy it.
Okay, you're right.
As soon as they took it out, which was the original plan, is have it out of him first.
Right. Not just taking it out, which the only person that could do that was Wanda, because she's that fucking powerful. Nobody understands when I say that Scarlet Witch is the most powerful character. She literally is the most powerful character in the entire Marvel Universe. Fight me, I guarantee you she is.
So all the sisters doing her, you know, smartness, trying to get it out, they're down there fighting.
Yeah, so the fighting is going on, and it's badass. Some of the most badass fights that I've ever seen. So, you know, we ended Civil War with Falcon and War Machine duking it out, but in this one, they're finally teamed up, and they are dropping napalm bombs, they're dropping mortar bombs.
It's not like people, they're like dogs, or like they're...
Oh, the aliens that they're fighting.
Yeah, they're like aliens, and they've released a lot of them from the ship. And not a lot of them got through because of the barrier.
They're sacrificing themselves.
Yeah.
They were running through to weaken the barrier, but they're killing themselves to do it because they're just rabid alien dog things.
Yeah, so there are some of them are breaking through.
There's millions of them.
And then, you know, Bruce Banner was like, if they come around, then we're screwed because they can't protect... What's his name?
They can't protect the flank.
So then Black Panther, which I forgot his name,
he's like, we'll keep them in the front, so just open a part of the shield. So they open a part of the shield, the floodgates start rolling in.
And that's when the freaking fight begins.
That's when the fight begins.
Badass.
And that's when, you know, Captain America starts busting out his 2 shields, but they're really little short, dinky, tiny little adorable shields. But they're also sharp, so he can stab, he can fuck shit up. All the fights are going down. We see a little moment of girl power, where Wanda starts getting fucked up by the main evil alien girl.
That's why I had to make sure it was clear that she was still with Vision, because when Scarlet Witch came and like knocked her out, the girl with the side, she's like, why wasn't she down here the whole time?
Oh,
that's why I wanted to make sure.
Denai Guerrero's character from The Walking Dead. Well, not her character from The Walking Dead, but anyways, you get what I'm saying. She shows up. Black Panther's bodyguard shows up, and when they see Wanda, like, Wanda sees the damage is going on. She's like, holy shit, I gotta get down there so I can save these people, because these other ships start rolling in.
Wheels with like chains coming in, and she's like, oh no.
So she jumps in and just fucks these things up, and that's when you really get a grasp of her power. You're like...
Yeah, because you see the bodyguard and Scarlet Witch, and she's in the middle, and she stops it and throws it over them. And then that's when she's like, why wasn't she down here the whole time?
And how come she wasn't down here the whole time?
Yeah.
And that shit was the funniest part to me.
Like one of my
because it's
parts.
Like, you just see how incredibly destructive... Obviously, she's a glass cannon. If you touch her, she doesn't have anything to shield herself. She can die if you get that one hit in. But... to get to her, she can warp your entire reality, which she has done in Avengers versus X-Men. Okay, so basically what happened at this point is the girls are having this epic little showdown. It's Scarlet Witch, it's also Black Widow, it's Denai Guerrero. I can't remember her name from. Anyways, Denai Guerrero as the Wakanda Enforcer, we'll just call her, and they are battling it out, and they're battling it out with the evil scythe wielding badass chick from space, right? That's what we'll call her. And so basically, what's happening is Scarlet Witch is looking a little bit soft in this fight because the other girls are just dishing it out, and they're teaming it up, and it's a fantastic scene. And then, of course, Wanda Maximoff shows off her... I mean, we just get a glimpse and hints of what she's capable of in this movie, but she is very powerful. I mean, she just literally launches.
You meant to say Scarlett Johansson was looking soft in this part, and then Wanda was gonna.
No, I said meant Scarlet Witch.
She was looking soft in the fight.
Yeah,
She's the one that beat him up. Everybody.
No, she was getting her ass whipped in this fight.
What?
The other girls had to jump in because she goes, "You guys are soft." Remember? She goes, "Oh no," she goes, "You're ready to die alone. This is how you should be." And then that's when Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson, goes, "She's not alone." And then the other girl shows up. Then Guerrera also shows up.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the end of the fight.
No. Well, I'm about to get to the end of the fight
okay.
because what happens at the end of this fight is Scarlet Witch basically uses her witchy powers and launches this broad up out of nowhere into
the spinning wheels.
Into the spinning wheels. And then those wheels, like when you see them actually grind this girl to bits,
They have like spikes and stuff on it. It's weird.
Yeah, it's a weird, hard to explain, but just take our word for it. She gets grinded up into meatballs, okay? And it's pretty fantastic. Blood goes everywhere. Blue blood, of course, so it's not crazy. And then it lands on Black Widow's face. And the first thing she says is like, "Ew."
She said that was gross. She looked at it and she's like, "That's gross."
That was gross. And yeah, it was pretty gross. But so then right after that is we kick back to the overall scope of the fight. Okay, so at this point we go into like a second portion of the field. It's like a little back
I think
portion.
we're still back at Wakanda.
Okay. Oh, that's right. So Bruce Banner is inside the Hulkbuster armor because he can't get it up. So he's in the Hulkbuster armor controlling it. It's cheesy. It's still funny to see him operating it, especially, you know, if you're very goofy and comic booky about it.
Yeah.
So he can't really operate it that great, but he does do, you know, a decent amount of damage. And he's battling who's he battling at this one? Is it the big axe hammer wielding guy?
I think so.
Or is it the guy that's like really agile?
Damn, I don't remember.
Well, he's
one of those.
he's battling it out. I mean, they're all getting pretty, you know, fucked up because these demon dogs from space that they overcrowd you with numbers, and so that's basically how they're getting whooped because these things start crawling on everybody. They're crawling on the Hulkbuster armor and they're like tearing it apart. Think of it like piranhas out of water, right?
Because eventually they took him down, and even Cap went down for a second because like they all just went on. It was like 4 or 5 per one.
So yeah, they're taking everybody out. I mean, it's showing everybody having their worst day. You know what I mean? Worst day at the office, and Hulkbuster armor pretty much he does like a last minute desperation move because his arm is getting ripped off. So he grabs the arm, and
that's when he gets that thing. So he attaches it to the
end of a weapon.
Yeah, how Iron Man flies that orb. He stuck it to the guy, and then the guy took.
Yeah, he stuck it to the guy's weapon, and pretty much he goes like, "All right, well, I guess I'm gonna have to do this myself." It pretty much activates this rocket that
he's talking to Hulk because Hulk was like no again, so that's why he's like, well, I'll just do it myself then.
Yeah, because he's trying to flex and bust out of the Hulkbuster armor. Like, come on, man, I need you, and this is when I need you because he's losing, right? And of course the thing's like Hulk again says no, and sure enough he just like, well, I'll do it myself, and activates the rocket propelled arm and launches the guy into oblivion pretty much, and that's when we usually cut to Thanos coming back after having taken all the stones.
Yeah, because he just took the last one from Doctor Strange, and now he's impeding on Wakanda because at first it's all just the warrior people. Now he gets there. Okay,
so this is when things start going really bad. All right, because everybody starts helping Bruce Banner in this little portion of the field, and
then they get attacked where Vision is. And then Wanda is down there, so then Vision flies out of the window, and that's when Cap's like, someone go help Vision.
Yeah, we got a Vision problem.
And then Thanos comes, okay.
Yeah, he's like, we got a Vision problem. Vision starts trying to dish it out that's when we get the scythe-wielding guy, the really fast guy, the one that's been dealing the damage pretty much throughout the majority of the fight to Vision. So they start battling it the fuck out, right? All of a sudden, and then they all help Vision, pretty much succeed in helping him, and Thanos shows up. Yeah, Captain America shows up and he does his thing, his captain thing, and we all know Captain America is totally badass in this one. Not as great, but still like as we see him in the past, like getting his due. But you know, we know what he's capable of, so we know that he's dishing it out. But then when Thanos does show up, trust me, he has 5 stones, right? He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He just doesn't have the middle on the gauntlet, the middle stone, which is Vision's. And because I mean they couldn't take it off, the fight was getting too dire. They were losing, so Thanos shows up and he's using all the powers. Yeah, and that's one thing we get to see him do. He uses everything. He uses the Reality Stone. He uses the Mind Stone, or no, not the Mind Stone. He does the Reality. He does the Power Stone a whole bunch, and we get a glimpse of every single thing that he does, and it kind of like glows in that specific color. So whenever he transports to different realms, which is in an instant, he's using the Space Stone. Whenever he shapes reality, he's using the Reality Stone, and then of course we can't forget the idea of time, because he's just wiping every single Avenger off the freaking in front of him. Like he's just throwing them Power Stone, Space Stone, fucking every stone. He's just throwing them out of the way. Like and it's all in slow motion, so it's badass. And then he's fighting. And then he's fighting Vision. Well, like, he gets the Captain, and Captain's the only one who can hold his glove. Yeah. And I thought Captain was gonna die right there.
You saw like there was a minute of like, I don't know if he saw like this guy has strength. Yeah. Like in him, like like this guy has some power in him, you know. But thank God he didn't. I was gonna cry.
Yeah, he could have. I think he probably should have. Honestly, in my opinion, he probably should have killed him. What I've been said, I would have cried right there. That would have been my moment, because it was in slow motion. And the way he just put his hand on him, and Captain America, we've seen it in the previews, he's holding his hand in the gauntlet, and he's just like pushing it back, you can see he's struggling, and
he just swipes him off.
Thanos, pretty much just kind of stares at him a little bit, maybe can tell that he's the leader, and then just decides, you know what, I'm just going to Power Stone your ass out of here. The Purple Stone, of course.
But no one can touch him. Like Falcon comes, gets his clothes. Like he just brushes everyone off like nothing.
And it's in slow motion. It's amazing. It's an amazing scene, really. Yeah. You get to experience that. So then that's when he gets to pretty much to Vision, and
at the time though, Wanda
is trying to take it off.
Just trying to destroy it. Not even take it off, just kill him. Because that's what they agreed on.
They go through this whole scene earlier where Vision tells Wanda at the hotel room, like, if things were to happen to me, I need you to be the one to take it off. I won't even feel it if it's you.
Because she's the only one that has enough power to do it.
Yeah, so. Because she's powerful as shit, and that's where we get. That's another thing. You gotta take that. Like, if she's powerful enough to do things to Power Stone that the Power Stones all do individually, like. She's powerful.
It makes me wonder, she could have just probably wiped out the whole fight herself. Yeah. Like, I'm just like, why could they protect her and then have her just kill everybody? But that's in the movie.
Yeah, so, I mean, maybe she hasn't realized all her powers yet, but every movie we see her getting more and more intense.
Stronger and stuff.
Yeah, so.
So she's like this with,
holding Vision, taking off the stone, while also...
So then that's when Thanos approaches.
And Thanos is getting close, and she's holding Thanos back. So she's using one hand to hold Thanos back, one hand to destroy the stone. And it's taking a little longer than we probably can expect it to. And Thanos is getting really, 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 really close.
And he's using his own power to try to get to her.
Yeah, he's just inching closer and closer. And then, of course, she destroys the stone. She cracks it at the last minute. And... Vision dies, but not too bad. But it's like a big ass explosion, but it doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, they didn't really show it. They just show an aerial picture of it, of like the trees and all that. You know, the impact from it.
Yeah, it's like a big old
and then he drops.
Yellow impact, and he drops.
And
pretty
then she goes on the ground because, of course, she's crying.
She's sad, and then that's when Thanos is like, "I empathize with you, girl." Like, and that's the thing, you feel for Thanos in some weird way. Like, like he comes across as a sympathetic figure, which is good because we needed that from somebody, you know, like Killmonger was also a sympathetic figure because you understood him even though he was an evil bastard. Thanos is a universe scale evil bastard, you know, and he's thinking, you know, we're thinking globally, he's thinking universally. And so he tells Wanda, like, I feel for you, I really do. Like I've lost a lot today, just as much as you. And of course he goes, but time is irrelevant. Right then and there, I was
And then
like,
he's like,
oh,
there's
that's
no time.
right.
This isn't the day to mourn. And then he says that, and then he does that thing.
And then he takes the time. He uses the time stone and turns back time to right before
She destroys him.
destroys the Vision. So
Vision.
Vision's back alive, back to life. And Wanda's like, no, she can't do anything about it. She's just drained. And he takes the stone, and that's when that shit is violent.
Yeah, I felt sorry for him.
Basically he rips the stone out.
So he's choking him and ripped that shit out of his head.
And it leaves this huge wound in his head. I mean, huge, and it looks really bad.
And he just turns black.
He's a gray.
Oh yeah, black and gray, and then his eyes roll back.
Yeah,
that was horrible.
And he just chugs him, and it's just like it's like a decayed corpse from like years and years and years of decay. This is how his body looks like in an instant, and it looks really detailed and really gross.
Yeah, it was horrible.
And he gets the stone, so that means he has all the stones, drops it in the middle of the glove.
And then that's when Thor comes, and he's flying, and then he throws his axe at him.
Yeah, so when Thor comes in the actual battle scene, it was awesome because we get the immigrant song from Led Zeppelin, of course.
Oh, yeah. And then we get the comedy from Bruce Banner too, because he's like, "You guys are screwed."
Yeah. and don't get me wrong, Thor is wrecking when he gets there. He's probably the most destructive force. Yeah,
he's a god, especially with his now that he has this new thing.
This new axe, yeah. This axe that was forged, he is wrecking. And
so his axe is like wheeling through people, killing the dog things and stuff, and then while the other ones are fighting, then he flies to Thanos because he realized Thanos is over there. But this is already after Vision's already dead.
So by this point, Thanos is pretty much just about to kill everything at this point on Earth. And that's when...
Yeah, because he already puts the stone in it, so it already magnetizes it, and then Thor comes and throws the hammer at him. I mean, the axe.
The axe. So he's coming in, and that's when you see Thanos kind of like look at him, like realizing that he's a little bit more powerful than normal, so he throws all the power at him, all the power of the gauntlet. And what's cool is that Thor actually can withstand all that power because he's a freaking god. He flies right through it, and while flying right through it at like this crazy speed, and of course he has those crazy, awesome looking blue eyes, like glowing, electrified blue eyes.
The god, like where he has the thunder and all that stuff with him.
He chugs this axe, this god-killing axe that was also made by Groot, and it flies through the Infinity Gauntlet's power, which says something about that power, right? Flies through that and hits Thanos dead in the chest. And I mean, it just it's violent sounding, it's squishy, and of course he flies up with it and then hits the axe even farther into him. And Thanos...
Like, I told you would die, because when he killed Loki in the beginning of the movie, he's like, you're gonna die for that.
Yeah, and then Thanos is dying. He is really dying. And unfortunately...
Thanos is like, you should have went for the head. I thought that was a good thing, and I was like, in my head, I was like, you should have went for the head.
Right? Yeah, he says you should have went for the head. He doesn't. He's not mad, but he's like, you should have done that to kill him. And then all of a sudden, he does something. This is left for interpretation. Nobody knows. At least I don't know.
I just saw him remove the axe, but I don't know what else he did.
He doesn't remove it. He disappears and he leaves it behind.
Oh, that's
but
right.
What he does is he blows up something with the Infinity
snaps.
Gauntlet.
That's right. So while he has the axe in there, he just snaps. And then something happens, and then he disappears. But the axe jabs.
Well, no. So what happens is he snaps. This huge explosion ripples through the entire universe.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then all of a sudden, it just immediately cuts to Thanos laying in the middle of this kind of like water, which it reminds me of the reality stone that from Wakanda. So obviously, that's another theory. A lot of people were like, "Oh, Wakanda has a stone. They don't have a stone." So he wakes up in the water, similar to how the Black Panther would wake up in the forest.
But it's all water.
So and he would see his, all the other Black Panthers. Well, he wakes up and it's all water, and it's this building, this stone structure. It's not even a building, just a structure, and little Gamora standing there. Remember, the only thing he loves in the entire universe. And
she's like, did you do it?
That right there. I don't know. And what is it? I don't know. It's similar to Meatloaf, right? What would you do for love?
And he's like, yeah.
We don't know what it was.
What was the price you paid?
She's like, what was the price you paid? And he says to her, everything.
He says everything.
and all of a sudden we cut back to him, still having axe in his chest. He uses the space stone, disappears, leaves the axe behind, and he's gone. We don't know where he goes.
And Thor's just looking at his axe, and then Cap comes, and he's like, "Where did he go? Where did he go?"
And everybody's like, "Where did he go?" But all of a sudden, this is when things start going crazy because people just started turning to
they start turning to ash,
to, like mud ash,
yeah,
right?
like just flaking off.
Yeah, they start looking like mud, and all of a sudden they just flake away, and it's everybody except the original Avengers. Everybody, and I mean, we're talking from Colby to all the way to Samuel L. Jackson, which we get in the ending credit scene. We see just Black Panther.
But if you really pay attention to the movie, and you realize the only people that are left are the original Avengers.
The original 5, man.
But yeah, everybody else is gone. Besides the bodyguard for Wakanda, like she's still.
Well, yeah, she's not really,
Yeah,
but people, I mean, everybody in New York, people are flaking away. In the immediate battlefield, people are flaking away. A lot of the Wakandan soldiers are flaking away. Even the children of Thanos are flaking away, just everything. And it's this very somber scene. Nobody understands what's going on at that point. And the last words that are spoken are Captain America, and he says, "Oh my God." And that's it. And it's just, we see the original Avengers. It cuts back to Thanos. Thanos is on this planet sitting down. He's, he's healed. He's looking at like a sunset. And he just kind of, not like a crazy, it's not like a big crazy smile, but it's like a smile like he's at peace with something. Like he's done something and he's content now.
But even before that, they even cut scene to Spider-Man and Tony Stark. And
that was sad.
And to the Guardians.
That was some of the best acting
I've ever seen. And they weren't even
seen.
on planet Earth at the time. They were still on Titan, and they were disappearing. So all of the Guardians are gone.
Doctor Strange gone.
Doctor Strange is gone. The only one that was Spider-Man gone, and then the only one that was left on that planet was Tony Stark. But then, yeah, that's what I was telling him earlier. Like, it hit me in the feels with freaking Peter Parker, because he was the one that's like, "Don't let me go. I don't want to go." And I was like, "Oh my God."
Yeah, the way he was saying was, "I don't want to go. I don't want to," like a scared child.
Like
and
a baby.
And he pulls
hugs
it off.
him, and he hugs Tony Stark,
and Tony Stark lays him down, like a father saying goodbye to his child. Like, just go to sleep, man. And he's just like, "I don't want to go. Please, 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 please," and he just fades away.
And Tony Stark's the only one left on that planet. And then it cuts to Thanos in that like serene scene.
That's when the serene scene comes, and then it ends. Like the music, even right when the credits roll.
After that, I think everyone was so quiet in the theater. Like, what the fuck just happened?
even when the music, like I'm saying, when the music kicks in, it's just complete. It's like a quiet, somber music for the whole credits, like the whole entire credits. And it's a long credits, and trust me when I say that is because you only get one ending scene, and it's at the very end of the credits.
Hopefully if you've seen the movie, hopefully you stayed and seen the ending credits.
You definitely want to stay. This is one of the weaker end credit scenes, but it gives you a kind of global scale. I mean,
yeah, I think it gives more insight to maybe what's gonna happen, not gonna happen, but show you like what
for
might
phase 4, right? Because
Yeah.
we're going into phase 4 of Marvel's storytelling.
So in the ending credits, it's Colby and Samuel Jackson you don't even know it's them yet, but you're in the backseat, and then she's like, "Have you seen Tony Stark?" And he's like, "No," or she's like, "No, he's been off the radar."
Yeah, planes are crashing.
But no, not yet. So they're driving, and then a car cuts them off.
Oh, okay.
And then they stop, and they're like, "Oh, what the hell?" So they go see if the person's okay, but nobody's in there. And then they hear people screaming, and then you see a helicopter smashed into a building, and then they realize, he's like, "Oh my gosh," he looks at Kobe, and he's like, "Call it in, code red.
Call initiative code red," or something like that.
And then she has the phone, and she starts flaking away, and that was crazy.
Yeah, and then he grabs the phone, walks toward to kind of like a crowd of people. They're flaking away. He moves them out of the way, hits the button to call the initiative. As soon as he does that, he does very Samuel L. Jackson things. He's like, "Mother,"
and then his face flakes right when that happens.
And then all of a sudden it drops to the little,
it looks like a
beeper,
pager,
like a
something.
pager, like an old school beeper. It lands on the ground, but then all of a sudden
all you see is sending.
Yeah, it's sending, and then all of a sudden this little image, which is Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
appears.
and I didn't know what it was. So then when he said that, I was like, okay.
Yeah, so Captain Marvel appears, and then it says Thanos will. It says Infinity War. It says Thanos will be back.
Thanos will return.
Thanos will return. So we know we're gonna get part 2, and we know we got. This is the weird thing for me, is I'm sure they're gonna explain it in a very awesome way, but there's still 3 movies lined up before the next Infinity War comes out next year. The next one?
I gotta wait a whole another damn year.
Yeah, but there's also 3 other movies
in between that.
What? Yeah. So.
How are they gonna jump?
That's what I'm saying. They're gonna have to explain some kind of weird time jump.
Back way or something.
But anyways, that's getting off the point.
Oh yes.
So, what would you rank this movie in as far as?
Top 3?
No, we know what the top 3 is.
Well, I didn't tell you my top 3. You said your top 3.
Okay, what's your top 3?
My Captain America.
Captain America is number 1. First one.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Civil War. Wait, no. Captain America. What's that one called?
The Winter Soldier or the first Captain America?
Where's the one where it shows you how he turned into Captain America?
That's the first one.
That is? Okay, well, I like that one.
Wow, that's weird.
I like that. I don't know why I like that one. And then I would say this Avengers.
Okay.
And then I would have to tie it.
Infinity War is your number 2?
Yeah, and then I would have to tie it with the first Avengers or Winter Soldier.
Well, you tie it.
Yeah, because I like them both, so I don't know.
Well, you have to choose one or the other.
Oh.
For number 3.
Probably. Yeah.
Go ahead. The audience wants to know.
Probably Winter Soldier.
Okay, so Winter Soldier's for number 3. You got Sasha's, you got mine. Now we're looking at what would you just give this on a movie scale, like out of 1 through 10. What would you give it?
Like an 8.
I give it a 9.
I give it a high 8.
Yeah, I think this is instant. This is the best Marvel has offered. It's the culmination of everything we've ever seen.
I love
a huge payoff.
Good all the characters interacted together.
With the time allotted. It's a 3-hour. I mean, in total, it's like a 2-hour 45 movie. But the credits, if you stay to the end of that, it makes it a 3-hour movie. 3-hour exactly.
Overall, it was a really good movie.
Yeah, I thought it was
really
done
good.
so well.
I actually want to see it again to see the things that I missed because so much was going on. Like I feel like we need to see it again because we're gonna pick up on stuff that we didn't see the first time.
Yeah, I can't wait. That's a great idea.
I definitely want to see it again.
I want to see it again. I definitely encourage repeat viewings. I definitely encourage having to see this movie. Go run out, go watch it now. I should have said that right in the beginning. I should have just put it in the. I'll put it in the quotes. Go see it now before watching anything to do with this. I went dark just to make sure I was not going to get spoiled.
We both went dark.
It's still, of course, like we said, Twitter is a son of a bitch.
Yeah. So for movies like this, you got to be careful to not.
This movie though.
Social media, but definitely go check it out.
Infinity
War. It's a really
War.
good movie.
It's the best movie in my opinion. Everybody might have a single movie that meant more to them. I just think this meant more for the overall scope of everything that's been built to this point. Like what they're building, they're also tearing down, and you get that in this movie.
Marvel did a good job of lining up all the movies to get to this point and explaining what characters what. But I do advise seeing previous movies to understand, well, who's that character? Because I had to see the movies.
I mean, you're talking 10 years of movies a generation of movies that were all leading to this.
Yeah.
And holy crap, is it so good. It is epic. There is a bunch of gasping moments. There was a bunch of really close to crying moments. So we do know the 2 deaths are going to be Gamora and Loki.
I still feel Gamora. I feel like something's gonna happen with her where somehow
Guardians of the Galaxy.
She's gonna be brought back to life. Somehow.
The new Guardians of the Galaxy is coming out.
That's why I'm like, they can't have a movie without Gamora. Like something's gonna be like they find her and they take. I don't know, but I don't think she's dead. I'm hoping she's not because I like Gamora.
Yeah, I think that the way Guardians of the Galaxy is and how much money it's gonna make and how much money it already does make and brings in,
there has to be another movie, and she has to be in it.
It's a Guardians of the Galaxy is a pivotal movie, and
and they're really popular. Like
so she's gonna be back in some fashion, I would think, and I hope she does because I love Zoe Saldana as Gamora, and we just got to see her and Quill together, and I was just like, don't take that away from me.
They just got their love.
Yeah, and their love is believable because we've seen them progress. We've seen her progress from warrior to dancer.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a good movie. I'm glad.
So yeah, go out and see it, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for sticking with us in this long video. Our camera died. We had to wake up to reshoot this. It was a bunch of shit.
Yeah, we look a little tired. We just woke up from a nap. So.
Coffee, you know what I'm saying? Coffee at 11:30 at night.
Coffee, baby kicking, tired. It's been a long day.
It has been, but thanks for sticking with us, guys. Go out and watch Marvel's Avengers Infinity War, and do yourself a favor, come check out this video. Like, link, share, subscribe, hit that bell icon to get more from us whenever we update and throw a new video onto you. Stay dirty, humans.
Bye.
Bye.